You might have heard of these in the media right now. These are states because, again, each state is the one that ultimately will vote for an entire presidential candidate or not. So what matters is whether the entire state goes in one direction or the other. So swing states are states that are so undecided that the entire population doesn't know whether they're going to vote Republican or Democrat. And so these states this year are Missouri, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida. And this can change over time, but for the last 10 years or so, these states have had a big mix of representatives from Republicans and Democrats, very passionate. And so they're the ones that often count the most. They have a lot of delegates in the Electoral College, and you never know whether they're going to go Republican or Democrat. So it makes it a little bit exciting. That's why on election night, everybody's watching for these states to see what happens in these states in particular. Okay, are you ready for trivia? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. Okay. You look a little scared. All right. How old do you have to be to vote in the United States? 18. Awesome. You know this. That was the way I just talked about it. Okay. This one's a little tougher. I haven't talked about it yet. So, can the right to vote ever be taken away in the United States? What do you think? Yes or no? Do I have any guesses? Anyone? Maybe? Okay. The answer is yes. And actually, for the most part, convicted felons in the United States have the right to vote taken away. So it does become a serious issue. It's something that, again, we take our right to vote very seriously. So when it's taken away, it's considered quite a big punishment. So in that case, that can happen. Okay, this is also tricky. So our election day is held on the first Tuesday of November. That's traditionally what's happened. Does anybody have a guess as to why we hold it on the first Tuesday of November? No. November's a pretty month. Everybody's relaxed. No. This doesn't show it very well, but it's actually back in the days that the 1700s and the 1800s, and the United States was an agricultural society. Everybody worked on farms. This was the date where all of the harvest would be done, so they were done working in the fields, and they'd have enough time to rest and go to the polls. And they made it a Tuesday because Sundays was a day of rest. Monday was a day everybody can travel, because in those days you had to travel a long way to go to a center to vote. So Monday you traveled, and Tuesday you cast your vote. So it's a little bit old, but that's why we do it that way. Okay, you can guess this. Who chooses the vice presidential candidate? Oh, I'm getting a variety. What do you think? The primary voters. Okay, what else? Anybody else? The president. Okay. So the answer is the presidential candidates. So the reason they do this, they actually did it differently in history, where they'd have an election, and the person that came in second in the election would become vice president. But for many reasons that you can imagine, for example, this year Barack Obama won and Mitt Romney came in second, so Mitt Romney is his vice president. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It means that people are from different political parties, have opposing views, and they have to work together. So they changed that a long time ago, back in the 1800s. And now, after you get the nomination, or as you're expected to get the nomination, you can pick your vice president. So this year it's exciting. We're all set for our election. We've got our presidential and vice presidential candidates, and we're coming up on the election. Okay, so when are U.S. presidents inaugurated? So they're elected in November, and then they actually have to take office. the inauguration is held in Washington, D.C., and it's usually winter in Washington, D.C. Can you tell people are wearing coats there? It's actually January 20th. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's just the date they picked. It's the end of the year. They'll get sworn in the new year. Something exciting, I went to Barack Obama's inauguration in 2008. I lived in Washington, D.C., and the whole city shut down. Everything was quiet. There were no cars. All of my friends came to stay with me. I had 15 people staying in my tiny apartment because everybody wanted to go see and be a part of history. And it was so cold. We wrapped up in jackets. We walked for miles, and we got to see this amazing, amazing event. I think everybody feels, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, you're a part of history when a new president is inaugurated. You're very proud of your country at that point. And it was a very exciting moment for me in 2008. Okay, how many terms can a U.S. president serve? Unlimited, 2 terms, or 4 terms? I've heard everybody say 2, and that's right. 2 terms is the right answer. So this was a law that also changed. It changed after Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected for 4 terms back in the 1930s and 40s. So immediately, the Congress passed a law that limited it, because traditionally, our presidents had refrained from serving for more than 2 terms. That was never codified in law, so they finally changed the law in the 40s and made it so that the president can only serve 2 terms. Okay, and which U.S. state produced the most presidents? New York, Virginia, or Ohio? Lots of people saying Ohio. Virginia. It's Ohio and Virginia. They both claim to have, I think, 8 presidents. Okay. That was kind of tough. All right, so we just talked about this. What are the key swing states in the 2012 general election? California and Texas, New York and New Jersey, or Ohio and Florida? Ohio and Florida. That's right. Florida is definitely a big state. And has a third-party candidate ever won the general election in the United States? Nope. Not yet. So we'll see. It won't happen this year, but it is something that's changing and evolving with the U.S. electoral system. All right. Do you have any questions? Okay. Thank you so much for your attention.
Sin vergüenza.